The budgetary announcements for the financial year starting in the April of 2021 came in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic that has ravaged all parts of the world. In the backdrop of job losses, declining wages, and a near collapse of economic activity, the current budget was touted as one of the most important budgets, not just in recent times, but in our living memories. The budget delivered on multiple counts, but also had a few important misses. The positives revolved around the themes of investment, healthcare spending, and the financial sector. The finance minister kept her promise of loosening the purse strings with the revised fiscal deficit for FY 2021 at 9.5% of GDP and keeping the budgeted fiscal deficit for financial year 22 at 6.8%, while also setting a fiscal consolidation path by targeting to bring down the deficit to 4.5% of GDP by financial year 26. This is also in line with the groundwork laid down in the economic survey in favor of a counter-cyclical policy stance. The composition of spending in favor of capital expenditure, in addition to staying away from new populist schemes of entitlements, is what led to the upsurge in the stock market. Spending as a part of this budget is geared towards providing performance-linked incentives for the designated sectors. Increased focus on National Infrastructure Pipeline, NIP, which is a group of social and economic infrastructure projects, and creation of development financial institutions, that is DFI, to enable long-term funding for infrastructure projects, and new highway projects in the states of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, West Bengal, and Assam. These steps will enable crowding in of private investment, create jobs, and further improve the ease of doing business. An impetus in the direction of healthcare that includes allocations towards water and sanitation, nutrition, and vaccination was much needed. Announcements pertaining to vehicle scrappage policy for both personal and commercial vehicles, sale of surplus land lying with government ministries and PSUs, establishment of 4 National Institutes of Virology, Jal Jeevan Mission, establishment of 100 Sainik schools, 750 Eklavya Model Residency schools, and a central university in Ladakh, setting up of 7 mega textile parks, construction of 3 dedicated freight corridors, push towards increasing formalization in the labor force, the launch of National Hydrogen Energy Mission, building a multi-purpose seaweed park and promotion of seaweed farming and cultivation stand out as the unique selling points of this budget. The inclusion of hitherto off-budget items in fiscal deficit calculations lent much needed transparency to the budget. Although the creation of Asset Reconstruction Company, which is ARC, and Asset Management Company, that is AMC, will address the burgeoning NPA problems of the banks worsened by the economic slowdown induced by the COVID-19 pandemic, it may also lead to moral hazard problems and more reckless lending by the banks once they get rid of their stressed assets. The push towards privatization of state-owned banks, among other PSUs, barring the 4 key strategy sectors and FDI, paves the way for greater marketization. Increasing the FDI limit in insurance sector from 49 to 74% is expected to tackle the underdeveloped and underpenetrated insurance market while imparting better value for customers through better products at more competitive costs. However, while setting targets for disinvestment and privatization henceforth, we must be cognizant of our previous failings over many years to meet the disinvestment targets. Air India is a case in point, as its disinvestment has been dragging on since 2018 without any avail. As per a recent article by Professor T.T. Ram Mohan of IIM Ahmedabad, all the spending and burgeoning fiscal deficit and debt to GDP ratio should not raise a worry about debt sustainability, as the economic survey argues that given India's growth potential, the growth rate will remain above interest rate, at least in the foreseeable future, barring any exogenous shocks. The budget, however, as Professor Ram Mohan notes, missed a comment on the possibility of the large fiscal deficit fueling a rise in inflation and consequently failed to specify the role of RBI in accommodating a change in inflation target of 4%. Among other misses of the budget, the failure to spell out specific measures and outlays: 1. To tackle the immediate issues of declining empowerment. 2. To provide safety nets to the vulnerable sections of the society. 3. To tackle increasing inequalities. 4. To announce an urban employment guarantee scheme. 5. To put new education policy 2020 into motion stands out as worrying factors for me. As far as spending on education goes, financial year 22's allocation of rupees 93,224 crores is around rupees 6,000 crores less than the budget estimate for the previous financial year. A failure to increase the spending on education to 6% of GDP, or suggesting a roadmap at the least to increase the government expenditure to those levels in the coming years, does not inspire much confidence in the government's intent to revolutionize the education system as laid down in NEP 2020 document. Moreover, the announcements must be taken with a pinch of salt, as they remain what they are: mere announcements and estimations, unless a hard push for implementation comes through.